Hey, welcome to another installment of Catching Up. If you wonder why me, Sam, it sounds kind of a little weird. It's kind of a snow day here in D.C. I'm walking the mall because it was just prohibitively difficult to drive all the way to the home studio out and deeper in Virginia. So, yeah, I guess I already introduced myself. You gents want to introduce yourselves?
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Jake.
This week, we're talking to Steve Orlando and Garry Brown about their new book, Crude, out in comic book stores everywhere on Wednesday, April 11th. But, let's let them talk about it.
And joining us this week, we have Steve Orlando and Garry Brown. They're here to talk about their new Image Comics Skybound series, Crude, the first issue out in comic book stores everywhere, and Comixology if you're more digitally inclined, on Wednesday, April 11th. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, man, happy to.
So let's go ahead and start from the top. Where did the idea for this, you've got the retired hitman in Russia that's out to avenge the death of his son, but where did this story kind of come from, and how did this kind of collaboration take place?
The story came from, Skybound had reached out to me about after I did the book Virgil with J.D. Faith and said, why don't we look for something that is sort of a spiritual sequel to that, and what could we do? And I've always thought we return to the world of Virgil, other places where the queer community is having some trouble right now, clearly Russia. And so at the same time, they have such unique architecture and just things that have happened with their industry there, like the refinery city that the book is based in, or set in, which is based on a real refinery city. It just seemed like an interesting opportunity to build a sort of hyper brutal, skin of your knuckles world that Crude exists in. And once we knew that's what the book was going to be about, I'd long been wanting to work with Garry, so I immediately brought him up to Skybound because, he's someone I've known for a while. A variety of years, he's taught me a bunch of new words that I didn't know before, and we wanted to put some of those words on paper, So they were able to make that happen, and sure enough, I've stepped away. I'm doing the book in the Marvel format as much as possible, which gives some more freedom on the page to do layouts and innovate. And the book is it's a cacophony of violence in the best way possible. So it's worked out very well.
Is this the first time you guys have worked Marvel style?
The first time we've worked together, right?
Yeah, first time we worked together.
Yeah. Because I remember, Garry, you had done Black Road with Brian Wood, very kind of like haunting, like gorgeously desolate landscapes in that one.
Nice.
And if there's anywhere in, there's a lot of desolate landscapes around the world, but Russia certainly has quite a few too. So what is it that kind of draws you, no pun intended, to render those kind of environments?
Well, what I liked about Crude was, like Steve was saying, it's mostly sitting on an industrial land with like slum alleyways and shitty little apartments and stuff like that. So I haven't really drawn that before, so that was fun. I'm always attracted to stuff I haven't drawn before. So,
you had kind of going over the bibliography. You had done the Antichrist in the Heart of America with Baby Teeth and Donny Cates. You've done, yeah. I suppose, is the most industrial work that you've done, was it The Massive with Brian Wood?
Yeah, there was a 3-issue arc on an oil rig city that almost killed me trying to draw that thing. So that's the most industrial I've been.
So what made you want to come back for more then? If those 3 issues.
Well, well, this is different though. This is more like stylized and not like hyper realistic. Like The Massive was like, everything had to be specific. Like the guns had to be specific to the place they were. The people had to be specific, the way they dressed. All that kind of stuff was like, because The Massive was like, it was built like that. It was built like this boat has to be this type with this engine, that kind of shit. So, but this is a lot more artistic, I guess. Maybe that's not the word. What's the word? TV, right?
It's the word. That's what it is. It's more artistic. I'll take it.
Fair enough. Now, Steve, you were mentioning this as a spiritual successor to Virgil, and there's kind of like the idea of what machismo means within the queer community. You see it with the title character Virgil. You see it with Peter's son here in Crude. What is it about those kind of themes that you find intriguing as a storyteller and a writer?
Well, they're different, I mean, like, so it has to evolve. Like, this is a spiritual successor to Virgil, but it does cover different territory. Virgil was obviously the lead of the book called Virgil. Here, we're looking at sort of the fallout of the double lives that people lead. Like Virgil was a policeman during the day and a completely different person at night because he didn't feel safe. Kirill also is in the closet in Vladimir where he grows up, and he's there because his father is a very stereotypical masculine father in that they don't talk about what they feel. He's very remote, he's very reserved because that's what toughness means. And there's actual, in the case of Kirill, there's casualties to that. So this is about examining the tragedy of a lack of communication between men and between families. But that makes it also very heavy. We're analyzing that with action scenes that are essentially ripped from Old Boy or The Raid. So it's not a downer, but it does have something to say about the fact that there are things lost when you keep things to yourself, and you shouldn't wait as long as Pyotr does to where you have to massacre an entire city as revenge, or maybe you want to, to come to find that out.
What you had mentioned earlier that this series is a cacophony of violence, in the most glorious way possible. You've got Pyotr, who's like rage, who's just a slow simmering rage, at least from this debut issue, ready to just boil over. And you kind of see that harshness in storytelling. Both, I'd mentioned Gary working with Black Road, Baby Teeth, and then of course, Steve, you've got Virgil, you've got Undertow. Even your superhero stuff like Midnighter, that's a little more harder edge than most cape and cowl fare. What is it about those kind of more, I don't want to necessarily say angry, because I don't think you gentlemen are angry, but you might be angry. What is it about those more harder edge stories that kind of attract you?
Well, honestly, I think there is anger involved, at least in my case. Gary may have a different answer, but like, all the stories you mentioned, whether you're part of a minority or not, like, and Virgil is in varieties of them and Kirill is, but like, the fact is that like, I won't want to say anger, but there's passion behind all these stories. And that's what causes the extreme tension, the extremes to which the characters go. But to me, that's the most exciting type of storytelling. When a character is in fight or flight, when a person is in fight or flight is when they're at their most dramatic. And so I feel as though that's where you get the most out of these characters, when they're running in the red, when they don't have time to think about sort of facades that they put on in day-to-day life, and they just act. That's always been what I found most interesting, and I think that's why you'll see it pop up in a lot of my work.
Gary, you got anything to kind of speak towards rendering and creating those more harsh, that grounded realism in four-color comics?
It's just naturally I'm drawn to stories like that. Plus, everybody likes to see an asshole get his shit kicked in, like, I mean, everybody likes to see that one mouthy asshole just get bitch slapped. So
that is true.
That is absolutely true. You had mentioned kind of old boy style violence and that sort of thing, and the Raid. What kind of influences you have, both, not necessarily in cinema, but hell, it could include cinema too. But certainly within comics, within literature. Just what are some of your storytelling influences here, and just in general?
Is that me?
That's to both, man. That's a double header.
I think you should go first, Gary. This is an easier question for you.
Well, yeah, I grew up watching a lot of movies, like a lot of movies, because as Steve loves to hear, my town was really small, and so there was nothing to do. So I watched movies like endlessly, like every movie like at least 3 times when I was a kid, and then I think that's where I got a lot of the cinematic storytelling ideas from, stuff like that.
I draw a lot of influences from film as well. Like, I mean, to be fair, like, every time I can't write a script most times without referencing like the action choreography that Jeff Darrow does. So it's not all from movies, because I will gladly pay infinity monies for a copy of Shaolin Cowboy, wherein there is almost no plot and almost no words, and he's just like murdering a giant lobster with like a chainsaw and a stick, because the storytelling is so incredible when it comes to action. But I love, again, like the similar types of things. I love Michael Mann movies. I love, you know, like again, you said gritty realism, or like you said some sort of form of the word realism earlier when it comes to these books. But I love action movies from a time when there was weight, you know, before massively, you know, massive CG budgets. To me, I love when you can feel that these actions actually have consequences and weight to them. So I love like Sergio Leone movies. I love movies that have practical in them. You know, I find like I'm always writing a version of Clint Eastwood in almost everything I do, because of just what I've grown up watching. But at the same time, I like that mystique. I like the man with no name, you know, with the anti-hero with a questionable, or I should say an off-center but strong moral compass. You know, that is the iconic Avenger. That is the iconic hero that walks over the hill. So I find that's inevitably, unquestionably, it's my strongest influence in everything. It's why in Midnighter we went back to his name just being Midnighter, because I thought that, you know, that makes him an icon. You don't want to humanize him in some ways, because the man with no name was just the man with no name. You know, I mean, some people called him a variety of things, but they were just nicknames. He was more than a man. So that's what hopefully we're trying to do.
Kind of the idea that both Piotr and Virgil and Midnighter are all Ronin in their own way.
Yeah, that's why, you know, Piotr becomes Kolovrat again. And Kolovrat, Upeti Kolovrat, is actually a folk hero from the Book of Veles, which is a Russian folk tome from way back in the day. And he's like this legendary warrior that fought, I believe, the Mongols, and was so mighty that he basically fought an entire army himself. And the only way they eventually killed him is by using a catapult to drop a giant boulder from launched on top of a mountain on him. And that's the name that Piotr has taken for himself when he's working, quote unquote. So that sort of larger in life stuff, certainly, yeah, it's present in Crude as well.
Well, I gotta ask now. It might be a loaded question, but like, what are your guys' go-to Clint Eastwood movies? Because I'm like every couple months I go in like Clint Eastwood mode and I just marathon.
It's any which way you can.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, man.
All right. Yeah, I grew up watching Clint Eastwood movies too. I think Unforgiven is just like one of the greatest movies I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. And Jesus, there's like so many. He's made like a million movies. I mean, you know, there's like classics like Dirty Harry. I actually like the Deadpool, because it's not very good. That's when the Dirty Harry movies get all bloated and kind of like tongue in cheek, like when he shoots that guy with the giant harpoon and stuff.
That's
and
what
nobody likes the Deadpool, but
that's what inspired Frank Miller to do Sin City, because like he left the theater, I guess, and was like, that's not how you end Dirty Harry. I'll show you how you end Dirty Harry.
That's Marv, yeah.
Wow.
Real quick about the Unforgiven, one of my favorite stories that I've heard about that is you know, Clint Eastwood wore these pair of like boots on rawhide, and that was like the beginning of his Western career. And the Unforgiven, he wore those same pair of boots to like have a full circle moment with the Western, which I think is pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
yeah, I mean, like, I think his character, like, it's a lame answer to say that the Dollars trilogy is my favorite, and yet every time I watch any of those films, I'm shocked at how much of the visual language and like the what an action hero does is taken from that movie. You know, like the one-liners you hear Bruce Willis spouting in Die Hard, which, yeah, I'll say is one of the best action movies ever made. You know, it's all from The Man with No Name. It's all from, you know, you made my horse nervous, and you have to apologize to my horse. You know, gonna need 3 coffins, better make it 4. Like all of those little quips are taken from a film that came out almost 50 years ago. It's insane to me. Or more than 50 years ago. I'm sorry, I know what math is.
Yeah, that coffin line blew my mind when I heard that as a kid. I was like, that's the most badass thing I've ever heard, and nothing will ever be more badass than that line.
There's actually, I mean, like, and those, like, that's what and he is so good at delivering them. Like, I like more than anything else, everybody likes different things, but I will always praise, like, what I consider to be a good one-liner. And hopefully we've had some in Midnighter. I strive for that. I will say Garth Ennis had one that I feel like I'll never do anything better, actually, than the other Midnighter series, where Midnighter's maimed a bunch of soldiers, and like the guy can't talk, and Midnighter walks up to him and he gives him the finger, but half of his fucking finger's gone, and Midnighter's line is, "You'll have to speak up."
That's great.
Which is, again, like, I don't think I'll ever do anything better than that, but that's an Eastwood line. You know, that's a Dirty Harry line. Like, I love Midnighter. I wouldn't be here without him, but that's a Dirty Harry line, unquestionably.
I always think, like, did Dirty Harry practice that? You know, how many times has he done that monologue, you know, in the first Dirty Harry? Like, and that was the way my dad pitched Dirty Harry to me. It wasn't like, oh, it's this great, you know, cop, you know, it changes the cop thing and it makes the, you know, the gritty anti-hero cop. He was like, oh, Clint Eastwood stops a robbery while eating a hot dog. And I was like, I have to see what that means.
Honestly, I've forgotten, like, as much as, so I think from a moral standpoint, Dirty Harry is more questionable in some ways. Because, I don't know, it's, as much as I love him, it is certainly a day to take to be like, well, I am racist, but I hate everyone equally, which is literally said in that movie. But at the same time, I just remember, I don't know if it's the first one or the second one. Like, he has all his iconic ones, Make My Day, Do You Feel Lucky? But to me, I actually love where he walks in, like, you know, where the scene where, like, the woman pours too much sugar in his coffee.
Oh, yeah.
And he walks in, and I believe his line is like, well, you don't think we're actually going to let you boys walk out of here, right?
Yes,
and the
exactly.
guy's like, you and, you know, who, you're alone? And he goes, me and Smith and Wesson.
It's the best.
And then and
Jake, you got the best impression.
Like that's insane.
Well, I'm glad you referenced that, because, like, Sam and I will just quote that back and forth to each other all the time, like, out of context. So, like, we're sitting around at a coffee shop, and I'll be like, well, we're not just going to let you walk out of here. He's like, who's we, sucker? And he's like, Smith, Wesson, and me. And he always has, like, the pause is, like, you can't teach that shit. The pause that he does, you know?
To that point, Steve, I feel like that's the entire reason, like, Magnum Force exists. It's like, well, if you thought like Harry Callahan was a fucked up, like, fascistic cop, look at these guys on motorcycles. Like, I always thought that was kind of a commentary, and I know, what's his name, who did the rewrite on Dirty Harry that also...
John Milius?
Yeah, John Milius was apparently pissed at Magnum Force. He was like, that's not what I'm trying to do, and it's like, that's the point.
John Milius is both an icon and a fucking madman.
Oh, yeah.
Looked into his past. I mean, you know, he was famous for actually bringing guns into his negotiation with studio heads because he, you know, wanted to make a statement. Also once was paid in guns for a screenplay. But that said, he's written some of the most iconic films in history. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Magnum Force definitely wants to say that, but I don't know if we really want to have a critical breakdown of that movie, but I don't know if, like, I don't really understand why he doesn't agree with them. You know, like, I mean, anyway, that's a whole other thing, but
like I said, we get lost in the weeds here. It's totally fun.
yeah, although, I mean, Gary is right, though. Like, they become something else. Like, to me, they become something else. I guess Deadpool is actually the last one, but Sudden Impact, when he gets that fucking dog. It's just like,
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, I actually really liked, in many ways, The Enforcer. I almost wish it had been made like 10 years later, because Tyne Daly is a great actress, and she could have had a little more to her character if it wasn't like 1979.
Yeah.
But it is still great. I don't know. Yeah, it's that character has a lot to him. I mean, you know, a lot of baggage. But again, like, that is where the bigger thing, like, even than what happens in those movies, that's where so much of our vocabulary comes from. And you know, it's exaggerated. Like, you wouldn't have you wouldn't have Schwarzenegger like, let off some steam, Bennett. Without, without Eastwood, he caught the train. Actually, the end of Eraser is also pretty stupid.
What about your luggage?
Oh my God. Yeah. But then again, look, that's, I wouldn't be here saying all those things if my father wasn't obsessed with all of those films, and I didn't watch Kindergarten Cop 30 fucking times.
I think Sebastian Gerner is in triple digits on Die Hard rewatches. So, but
Sebastian and I get along very well, so that's not a surprise.
So to take it back to the book a bit, we were talking about critiquing and breaking down Magnum Force. If you had to critique and break down, Crude, you had mentioned that this was this kind of idea that there's similarities between Virgil and this story. The idea that you should be true to yourself and you should be open to yourself, but at the same time, both of those books are driven by pure, uncompromising, good old fashioned revenge. And what are some of the themes? Are we going to see Pyotr waver on that, or you guys already kind of play around with time periods? Are we going to start to see more of his past juxtaposed with his current? What's the name of the refinery city? Blackstone. Are we going to start to see more of that as this story progresses?
Well, I think the big difference I should point out is Virgil's righteous, but Pyotr's tragic. And I think that is a huge difference between the characters. Virgil's angry at society. They wouldn't let him be who he is. Pyotr's angry at how badly he fucked everything up. And it plays out, obviously, in this book, and him working through his mourning in the most flagrantly violent way possible, because that's really what he knows how to do well. But and you will see more flashbacks into his relationships with Kirill as he starts to remember more and more things that now that he knows, the more he finds out about Kirill through the book, the more he sort of loses his mind. And Garry does these ascendingly more surreal flashbacks, because everything that he's done is cast in a different light. His well-meaning, you're 29, you need to get a wife, because no one's going to want you anymore speech that many people have gotten means something different when he knows what he knows, once he finds out what he finds out about Kirill. He is the books, the action of the book is in some way similar, but the motivation behind it is very different. And so I think that's important. Those are the different. That's why the book is an evolution from Virgil, because now we're examining something a little deeper. We're examining someone reckoning with themselves and the mistakes they've made. I'm 5 years older than when I wrote Virgil, and I think we ultimately, though he's a tragic hero, Pyotr is a hero, because which of us hasn't had some colossal fuck ups in our life and had to reckon with them? And obviously, it plays out as this violent opera. But that doesn't mean it's not applicable to our day-to-day lives as well.
And then, Garry, well, I guess this question goes to both of you as well. So, again, you're working Marvel style. Do you collaborate on the outlines, or does Steve, do you write kind of like an outline and then Garry kind of fills in all the action as it goes on? Like, what are some of the more brass tacks of the collaborative process here?
Steve hits all the beats that need to be hit, and then I'm free to kind of flesh out the bits in between and stuff like that. Like, it's never like he doesn't say like, all right, issue 4, there's a fight scene, then he goes to his apartment or anything like that. It's like page 1, this happens, page 2, this happens, etc. Stuff like that. But the first 2 scripts are written regular, and then we slowly got into more of a dialogue with each other about what things meant what and stuff.
So
by the end, I was just trying to anger Garry by sending him just one page is just a YouTube video of someone gutting and deboning a fish, and I was like, make it a picture. And he did make it a page, so I guess I have to try harder, But
yeah, that's a true story actually.
Great.
I'm trying to think what would be. It's like just like a movie poster for like play Misty with me, and he's like, all of this represented by this page.
Yeah.
Trying to Jake and I, you and I have had this, like, we've been dancing around this idea of an Eastwood-thon for a while, and I'm going to forward Where Eagles Dare.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm good with that.
So, Steve, you had mentioned you've got these very passionate and often motivated by anger protagonists. How is it when you translate, or not translate, but kind of transition and do characters like Supergirl, or working on, like, say, the Justice League, or working on Milk Wars with Gerard Way? How is it kind of changing, working out those muscles?
Well, it seems like it's different, but it's really not. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't mean to make it, seem unromantic, but my job and our job as creators is to understand the core motivations of a character. So, like, yeah, like, obviously a character like Midnighter, and especially someone like Piotr, is motivated by anger. But, in the case, and that's the lens through which all the action and the events of the book is told. And look, all the job is knowing what that lens is. For Supergirl, it's compassion. For Milk Wars, and Justice League, it depends on the character. For the Ray, it's starry-eyed wonder. For Lobo, it's the drive for his own entertainment above all else. But it is just all about, this is knowing the character. I know that makes it seem very rote, but that's what we're here to do, is know what really drives these characters. And that's the difference between, if you write a book, plot, you can write the plot, but the way that you make it matter is by filtering it through that lens, I guess is what I'm saying. Otherwise, it's just like stage directions. And so, I don't know, like, it is both a ton of work to spend time with a character and find out and do research on who they are and find out what really makes them tick. But once you have that, and you have the sort of the way that you can interpolate any scene, then it's very easy, because you know how these people would react, because you know what their core motivations are. And then you can do anything. You can do a book like Milk Wars, where there's mind control milk and Lobo gets turned into, like, a pipe-smoking dad named Carl.
Yeah. That book must be, like, bringing those two teams together, Doom Patrol and the Justice League of America. That had to have been just batshit crazy fun, What was your process like working with, Gerard Way, and coming up with that, that first issue where those two teams, meet, and, like you said, Milkman Man kind of goes for broke?
Oh, you haven't even seen just wait till part 5, gentlemen, if you think he's going for broke now. But, like, the answer is, Gerard and I both like a very diverse set of things, but we know how to talk to each other, and we connect where it matters when it comes to how we want to tell the story. And again, like, there is still, despite the fact that Milk Wars is esoteric, there is still a very core message, as you've seen. It's the battle against sameness. It's the battle against the monoculture. It's the fight for individuality. So once you have that North Star, and then, yeah, we spend a long time talking back and forth. He and I talk every day, usually. Just, even if it's not about comics, there's some weird, bizarre thing that's happened in the news that entertains us, or in science or something. And, you find a way to work the themes and sort of events that are interesting to you in. Luckily, in the case of Milk, when we're talking about monoculture and homogenization, it's been a perfect metaphor. But it's all just, it's an exchange of ideas, and luckily we both like really weird shit, and so Milk Wars has come together, and it's in a very unique package, but one that is definitely very much a product of both our minds.
Yeah, I'm having a total blast with that that series, that crossover. It's just total chaos and weirdness, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah, Milkman Man and his man milk are certainly making things pretty strange, and it's
Yeah.
only going to get, as I said, just wait till 5.
I can't wait.
There are things there there are things that Gerard showed me on his computer, the DC offices, where I was like, all right, clearly this Wi-Fi is not being monitored, and that's going to be in issue 5. So can't wait for you guys to see that next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So, gentlemen, something we ask everybody that comes on the show: what are you guys currently geeking out over?
What is Gary? I want Gary to answer this first because I'll have many answers.
You mean like comics or
Anything, man. It could be. Again, I'm trying to think what the most bizarre geek out thing we've had. Steve Sanders was making milk plastic. That's probably up there.
milk plastic?
Yeah, it's like this weird, like 19th century craft. Like it's like the step between plastic, and wax.
Wow.
So does he live in Portland then?
I think, or somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. Trying to think what else. Becky Cloonan was all about that Castlevania life.
Whatever. Becky Cloonan is just always like obsessed with Randy Orton being wet, and I know that. So.
But yeah, the world is your oyster, and anything and everything under the sun, moon, and stars.
I read a lot of theoretical physics websites. I like to read like theoretical physics and weird shit about time dilation and stuff, and all that kind of sciencey crap.
Are you big on the Michio Kaku?
Yeah, he's a little. I mean, I like his stuff. He's just a little too poppy. It's like pop culture. He sound bites.
Sure.
I prefer like the stuff that kind of hurts my head. I prefer that stuff. Like when I start reading it and I can't believe what I just read, that kind of stuff.
Even more abstract then.
Yeah, that's the word. Abstract stuff. Like how infinity has an end and stuff like that. It's weird. You get this really weird shit. Like there is an end to infinity, which is paradoxical. It's just weird shit like that.
I have to look this up. I don't know how.
It's really weird.
Okay. Your answers are better than mine. Because I'm either usually nerding out about weird beer and wine, which is all the time. Weird food shit, which is very common. I did actually. I am hunting. I recently had a Kobe beef. I want to find Kobe beef nigiri because I recently had a Kobe beef roll at a sushi place in Washington D.C. and I don't eat meat unless it's raw. So finding a place that will serve beef sushi, raw beef sushi, is very exciting for me. But that's not what I'm geeking out about. Mine's not about science. Mine is about Japanese pro wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And that is the reuniting of the Golden Lovers.
Oh yeah, with Kenny Omega and is it? It's not Kota Ibushi. It's
and Kota Ibushi.
It is okay. Yeah. Don't worry. You have friends on this podcast. I watch pro wrestling. I'm not as into the New Japan, but I get bits here and there that I see.
Golden Lovers reunion, potentially the two best wrestlers in the entire world, and also potentially in a bisexual angle that will drive mainstream fans insane.
That's the best way to do it.
I'm partially excited because the quality of them being at a tag team will be incredible, and then I'm also excited because on top of that, I just imagine the bro mark that'll be like, what, like I have to watch Kenny and Kota, right? But oh my god, they're hugging and shit, and so I really want to know how they do the mental math in their head and be like, well, kayfabe, but anyway,
it's that's kind of how I feel about Velveteen Dream. Because he's so androgynous that but he's one of the best wrestlers on NXT, potentially one of the best wrestlers in WWE right now. But but like I just I can't imagine how like a bro Mark is looking at it and being like, yeah, but I mean, it's just a character, you know.
But that's actually why I think, like, I've long discussed this with, like, my friend has a book called Headlock by where I live, and like it's about the wrestling industry, and so we have long talks about this, and like, you know, Stephanie McMahon a couple years ago came out and was like, well, we're going to do more LGBTQ plus content. And in my mind, I was like, oh my God, you know, because like they've done like artists formerly known as Goldust. And I was like, maybe I would rather if you didn't. And so, but like that, I feel is the only way, at least to intro it to the mainstream, is really the only way to book that. Like there was a joke article a while back that like at one point, like they were like, well, when Brock Lesnar debuted, he was going to be gay, but still be Brock Lesnar. And like that seemed like a joke, but at the same time, I think that's the only way you could get that character over on the main roster is because they have to be so good. They have to basically be the Jackie Robinson of gay wrestlers. They have to be so badass and so unquestionable that like man dudes from, I don't know, like take you anywhere from the depths of the Westboro Baptist Church would be terrified to say anything about them. And so, and Dream is actually kind of there because his work, it's not like he's booked like a quote queer character. His ring work is very strong. Yes. And he wins usually without like super heel cheating tactics. Like he's got flashy moves and they're generally almost face moves, even though he's a heel. But even so, like I still like he's gotten better. But I met like when he first came out and he was like Michelle Pfeiffering his way to the ring and fucking like in like purple velvet. I was just like, God damn it. Yeah. But he's gotten much better, you know, and I think he'll continue to get better. But no, I mean like that is why like I could not be more excited for Kenny and Kota coming together. It's ironic because I actually find Kenny Omega like singularly unattractive, despite him maybe being the best wrestler in the world. He has insect eyes. He looks like he's the star.
Hey man, you don't have to be pretty to be a good wrestler.
No, I'm aware of that. Anyway, so but that's my most exciting thing right now. Like I can't wait for them to crush Cody Rhodes at bastard, you know, at whatever it is, Honor Rising, wherever the hell they're fighting.
Right on. Well, gents, anything anything else you guys want to plug or you know tease in the upcoming issues of Crude?
I mean, I already spoiled the fish gutting scene. Like, what else is there, Gary?
Once you get to fish gutting, it's just all downhill from there, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much the highest point. You still even after that.
Yeah.
No, it's a gorgeous book. You know, Gary has taken the aesthetic that I hope for it, which is to say, like the early '90s. It's set in the current day, but just like the feeling of early '90s, fresh post-Soviet Russia, which was very much like the punk era in America, but happening in the '90s, and that just sort of dirty, leathery, oily, literally, because this is a refinery sort of feel, and that danger, you know, that danger of New York City and the Warriors, you know, that almost doesn't exist anymore in America, where like the shadows really did hold some dangerous shit, and he's, and not that they don't now, you know, once in a while, but like it's pretty safe in Times Square, like Elmo's there, like you're fine, and.
But if you don't pay Elmo to take pictures with him, he will hunt you down.
Yeah.
Well, no comment on that. But yeah, no. Gary has captured that in an amazing way, just with incredible kinetic action scenes. And again, like no matter what challenge I put in front of him, he makes it shocking. He makes it violent, but he also makes it sort of operatically beautiful as well. And that's what makes the book extremely special. You know, I can put whatever words I want on. I try to take words out during the lettering phase because who the fuck wants to hear from me when you can look at the book? So, but he's done an amazing job. Lee Ridge is amazing. Thomas Maurer, who I've worked with now for almost 20 years, like knows me better than any other letterer or designer, and usually makes it look like I know what I'm doing when it comes to lettering. So I could not be happier with the entire team. And it's just going to be a balls out amazing book that it'll make you think, but it'll do that by hitting you in the face repeatedly. So that's what to go for.
I agree.
Nice. We did. I mean, yeah. Again, we've read that first issue. It does not pull its punches, but it's like, even though it focuses on revenge and loss, it's not. What's a good way to put this? Not unsavory. It doesn't put you off. It draws you in. So again, that first issue is out in comic book stores everywhere and on Comixology on Wednesday, April 11th. Guys, thanks again for coming on the show.
Yeah, it's been good.
Happy to do it.
That was a lovely chat.
Yeah,
indeed.
I'm glad that we got to talk at length about Dirty Harry.
Oh yeah, anytime, anytime, baby.
Oddly enough, speaking of Dirty Harry, the fact that I had watched all the Dirty Harry movies a few years ago helped me in one of those mobile trivia games because it's the question was it's a multiple choice question, and it was what condiment is not featured on like a Chicago hot dog or whatever they call it, Chicago dog, and I was like, ketchup. Thanks, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. But the sad thing is, I like ketchup on
Me
my
too.
hot dogs.
It's my
the
preferred
greatest
condiment.
It's the greatest conundrum of my life because I love Dirty Harry and I love ketchup on my hot dog. It keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one thing.
That's it.
That's yeah. The also you got to talk to him about Doom Patrol and Milkman Man.
Yes, Milkman Man. Yeah. No, anytime get to talk about that stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah. So, and then of course, again, their new book is out on April 11th. You guys getting anything on this warm start to our season?
First day of spring, first snow of the year. No, just shoveling, and snow days always happen on my day off. So, I mean, it's still nice. It's still nice to wake up and like be snowy outside, and it's like kind of what it's like when you're a kid, and like you wake up and it's snowing outside and you don't have to go to school. I guess that's the closest you get to that. So it's nice. It's nice to just kind of go up and have like a lazy day, surrounded by snow.
Well, it's kind of like the best part of work in education is I still get snow days. This time they're just paid.
Yeah, that's true.
I actually just recently started a new big boy job. Yeah. And did not. I hope the people wandering the mall around you stared.
It's no different from other people.
I hope they stared at you when you said Milkman Man.
Oh yeah.
But so my job did not have a snow day today. Although ended up having cutting the day short because there was really nothing to do, and it was just me and my supervisor that were able to make it in. So had a half day, just like the kids.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, but it's been a good 2.5 days on the job.
Yeah. So far enjoying it. The guys that I work with are cool. Getting to move around a lot, which was one thing that I really missed about having a job because I've just been a lump around my house for the past couple months.
President of the United States would be proud.
Yeah.
The band, not the actual chief.
Right.
Maybe the chief executives. I'm looking at our current situation.
I mean, technically, I wasn't in a boggy marsh, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think if I did anything, of note.
I mean,
you guys do
otherwise this
anything
is a
for
very
St. Patrick's
short.
Day?
No, I just worked on St. Patty's Day, so didn't do much.
They did tag me to work at the bar, our resident Irish pub, for Patty's Day. But unfortunately, for stories purposes, fairly uneventful until almost midnight. I worked a 12-hour shift, so pretty much almost at the end of my shift, there was a single dude who tried to pick a fight with a table of 5 dudes, who each one of them individually probably could have kicked his ass.
That liquid courage.
Yeah, right?
That's a word for it.
Yeah. And a friend of the show, Carlos, who is one of the other bouncers there, noticed it first, and then I kind of went up behind him as backup. Because, of course, this little guy, Carlos needed help.
Carlos is the quickest guy I've ever seen when it comes to dealing with shit, man.
Right? So he starts pulling him away, and he's like, all right, man, no. He saw him swinging and stuff like that. So Carlos was like, no, man, you're out. Sorry. No fists. at this bar.
No stupid fights here.
Yeah.
No uneven fights here.
So he gets him about halfway out of the bar, and then the a group of people try to stop Carlos from taking him out. So I get around. I'm still following. I get around the other side of the guy and just grab him by his armpits and like kind of pick him up and carry him away, leaving Carlos with the group of people to just be like, "Fuck off." So that was fun, but it was about. Otherwise, a very uneventful. I just ended up talking to a lot of the regulars and just chit-chatting and shooting the shit. So that was a nice paycheck to collect.
I'm sure. Yeah, it was my sister's last day there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we had a nice little send-off for her after we were all done closing up.
Right. Huh. End of an era. End
Yes.
of an era.
That's right. What about you, Sam? I know you were out and about.
I was. I did things.
Good story.
Yeah, that's good. Fantastic. Yeah, good.
No, I played a little Celtic guitar, at my local, and then I posted up at Exiles over on U Street from like 2 to like 8, and I was somehow still like coherent. I'm kind of worried, guys, because I can like apparently drink a lot now and not be hungover the next day, which some people will be like, that's awesome. Where I'm like, that's probably not a good sign. There's probably like things, but so yeah, I was in Exiles for like 6 hours. Then I went over to the wharf and got some free gelato, which was good.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
Gelato,
I got some free
the
shots
classic.
at Exiles too, because their Jameson rep was there at the time. He was just like, "Oh, you guys seem chill."
Very smart to have the Jameson rep there on St. Patty's Day.
Oh,
Yes.
oh man.
The classic St. Patrick's Day treat of gelato.
Yeah. I try to keep it as Celtic as possible. Because what are the Irish known for but fine Italian, not quite ice cream?
That's fine. We had since it was on a Saturday. Once about 10 o'clock in the evening hit at the bar, we switched over to having a DJ for just like kind of like the standard, college night kind of fare. And like the first thing he played was the Proclaimers' 500 Miles, and I was like, yes, the classic Scottish band on this fine Irish holiday.
I was kind of happy because the entire I'm trying to wait until this very slow-moving plane stops flying over my head.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. But
It's gone.
the entire all of St. Patrick's Day, I didn't hear Wild Rover, which was fine.
Ah, I did.
I'm sure you probably heard it like in triplicate.
Yeah, just the.
Yeah. No, nay, never, no more.
Yeah.
I went to a brewery on Sunday for a friend's birthday, and I'm trying to think of anything. It's going to sound like the dumbest thing, but it's the show, so it'll fit right in.
It doesn't need to be said.
I really wanted a quesadilla. Like, I woke up that morning and I was just like, dude, I need a fucking quesadilla. And
that's fine. My Irish pub sells, they have quesadillas on the menu, so it
was
works.
like the one bar food on that brewery's menu that did not exist. So I did not get my quesadilla.
Ooh.
And I still haven't, now that I think about it. I made a pretty awesome taco soup last night, though.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty good.
Look at you
But yeah,
being an adult.
that's really all I got over the course of the past week.
Yeah, it's been kind of uneventful. I've kind of been doing this for like years now, but I reread Dark Knight Strikes Again and DK3, The Master Race.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Strikes Again, I talked about it a lot on here, but I fucking love that book so much because it's so fucking nuts. And like Frank Miller, his ideas, it's such an interesting Justice League story because like, he really writes the Atom well. I really like what he does with the Atom in both those books. But DK3, it was nice to reread that because it was the first time I've read it since I read it in single issue. And being able to read it as one story in like, one sitting was cool.
As opposed to months at a time.
Yeah, because like I forget about stuff and like, a lot of the stuff would hit a lot harder in that one sitting because now it's collected in the hardcover. So that was cool. I really like. I love that universe. I think I don't know if it has an official title. I want to say like Earth 31 is like the Dark Knight universe for Frank Miller.
it definitely has a designation.
Yeah, I really love that universe. It's so cool. Like, the Flash with like the black like runner, like, short kind of like Speedo. I don't know, not a Speedo, you know what I mean? He's got like the shorts and like the short sleeve.
He's got a runner's kind of like Under Armour kind of thing going on.
Yeah. And like Green Lantern, he has his hand cut off and just it floats around with him, and like just really weird, wild, crazy shit. And so I'm so excited for the Frank Miller, John Romita Jr. Superman Year One, which is supposed to drop this summer.
Part of DC's Black Label.
Yeah, the Black Label. Snyder. Isn't Kelly Sue DeConnick doing Wonder Woman?
She is, and so is Greg Rucka on a separate Black Label title.
Pretty sweet. Yeah, that'll be cool to see that. But yeah, I'm definitely really looking forward to the Miller Romita Jr. Because I mean, they did the Batman Joker story as the prequel to the Dark Knight Returns, that one shot. But then of course they're known for the Man Without Fear run. So pretty sweet.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to a lot of the Black Label stuff. I remember a lot of people were like, "That's a bold step in the right direction for DC," and I'm just kind of like here, like, well, you're putting your top shelf creators doing top shelf characters. Yeah, big risk there, boys.
Yeah, exactly. But funny.
No, I'm looking forward. Cynicism aside, I'm looking forward to all of it.
Yeah, and then we get Action Comics. Do you know the date for Action Comics 1000?
It is, I want to say, like the 18th of April.
That's pretty insane, man.
Yeah, I put in my FOC for that.
Yeah,
for a couple covers for that.
Yeah,
because I'm looking forward to that too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be ushering in a new era with Bendis. Like I said, I'll be sad. I'm really sad to see the Patrick Gleason, Peter Tomasi Superman run, and
Dan Jurgens too.
Oh yeah, the Action Comics stuff. But I mean, look, it's Superman. I'm going to read it regardless. And we get some interesting. I haven't read. I know they put the Tom King story up. Didn't they put that up on like via Twitter or something like that, or like online?
Yeah. DC let them post it online. You know, in its entirety, because it's just like a 4-page short.
Yeah, I wanted to, but I was like, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to read it when it comes out in the entire thing. And also, just in last Superman news for our Superman podcast. The show Krypton premieres tonight, which I gotta admit, like when they first announced it, I was like, I'll check out the pilot. I'll check out the pilot of any of these superhero shows. But the more I read about it and see like the costume design and the set design and the kind of story of it, it's kind of like a Back to the Future thing, Chris. I don't know how much you know about it, but was it Adam Strange shows up and he's like, hey, is it basically you gotta let Krypton die? Like, it has to get to this point because Superman needs to exist, and here's his cape, and if it disappears, you're fucked. So that's kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see it. It looks kind of really kind of wild and crazy. So I'll check out the pilot and see how it goes from there.
And it follows Superman's grandfather.
Right? Yeah.
It's not Kal-El.
No, or Jor-El.
Or Jor-El.
I'll do what I always do, and probably
fake
nerd. Get the fuck off here. I'll probably do what I always do and go like super hard on the first season, and then become like a lazy bum and like either never watch it again or pick it, finish it when it's all done somewhere down the line. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm behind on all my TV.
Oh yeah. So it's like all I need is a new show to jump onto. I mean, I decided now I'm just gonna wait till Ash vs. Evil Dead. It's another perfect example. I'm like, it's my favorite show on TV, and season 3 is happening right now, and I haven't watched a single episode.
That's fine. I'm a week behind. So I've clicked through my DVR several times, and there's an episode that's like, hey Chris, we were just recorded on Sunday. You can watch us now. You don't have to wait for there to be like 3 episodes built up to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
The only show I'm caught up on, I think, is Veep.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
No, Veep. So it's like,
For those of you out there that don't know, which I believe is everyone except for me and Jake, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a show that Jake doesn't really want to watch because he doesn't like Andy Samberg.
He just kind of drives me insane.
And he is the lead of the show, so understandable. But Brooklyn Nine-Nine, low key, like, is doing its best to make Jake a fan of the show.
Well, Chris keeps sending me stuff, and I'm like, man, I really got to watch this show.
Because there's so many like little jokes,
Yeah.
specifically like references to Gilmore Girls and Bunheads and Frasier.
Oh, see, now when you invoke Frasier, it's an impossibility that I'm not.
Terry Crews literally has a line where he, I forget what the first half is, but we are down AF as Frasier. That's what the kids are saying. And I saw that. I took a snap video of it, sent it to Jake because I was like, Jake needs to see this.
I feel like Frasier has this like, I don't know if it's through just like social media or what, has been getting this resurgence with like people are really getting into Frasier. Which
clearly it's the Tossed Salad and Scrambled Eggs podcast,
which makes my heart sore. But yeah,
that was a loud snort. I apologize.
Were you apologizing to the people around you or to us?
I don't give a fuck about the people around me.
Hence why you got quiet when you said,
yeah, exactly. I don't give a fuck about these people.
Yeah.
As he gets tossed into the back of a van.
Yeah.
There's children. There's children.
No, just real quick. We have nothing really to say about it, even though there's been 2 trailers. But we got our Infinity War tickets. That's exciting.
It's true.
That's right. I need to pay.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna pay.
Then you're never gonna see it.
Oh wait, you can hear me. Shit.
You said it into the microphone.
Yeah.
I have headphones on.
That's exciting because that's like coming up on a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Almost a month to the day.
And it is Alamo level. If there's ever been a movie that's Alamo level,
Mo level.
Yeah, Mo level.
If I may.
If that's the
Mo
cool
level
way.
event.
Mo level, Mo problems.
Movie.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Get
Jesus.
out. Get out.
I'm out.
Walk back home.
Yeah. But yeah, so thanks again to Steve Orlando and Garry Brown for coming on. Their new book is banging, and it comes out on April 11th. And you can get all of their previous work, like The Massive or Baby Teeth, or Steve's work with Doom Patrol and
Midnighter.
Midnighter, yeah, Midnighter and Justice League. So yeah, this has been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual Catching Up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.